Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we will talk about the London. Specifically, I'm going to show you a game, a blitz game, which I played a couple of days ago against someone on chess.com rated about 1940. And the time control was 5 minutes, so it was not a perfect game. But I'll talk about some ideas, I'll talk about how to make plans, how to take advantage of your opponent's mistakes, and hopefully you will find this helpful. Alright, so I start with d4, d5, bishop f4, the London. e6, which means there is no bishop f5, which means we can play knight f3. As I mentioned before, in a lot of previous videos, unless you know exactly what you're doing, you don't want to play knight f3. I'll explain on this right now. The main line is actually always knight f3, pawn e3, knight e2, but it's quite sharp. It's much easier for many of you, unless you want to do a lot of memorization, is to play the pyramid setup. In the pyramid setup, you do not want to play knight f3 as long as this bishop can come here. I explained why in the previous videos. Okay, black played pawn e6, knight f3 now, absolutely fine, and black plays a very strange looking move, pawn f6. So let's talk about why it's good, why it's bad. Okay, so why is it bad? Well, the knight doesn't get to go here. It weakens the king's position a little bit. For example, this pawn is a little bit weaker. We might be able to attack it this way. We might be able to attack it this way. Why is black doing it? Well, he believes at some point he might be able to play e5. If he does, he's doing really well. Okay. Normal London, pawn e3, bishop d6. And now there is a decision to make. There is an obvious move, which is drop the bishop back. And again, this is absolutely fine. The logic being is if he takes, we will of course take with this pawn, and we'll have a nice rook. The problem is, black doesn't have to take you. And this was certainly playable, but I chose a different move. And this is an important idea to remember. It's that a lot of the time you can actually allow this. I'll explain why. I developed the bishop, and the logic is after he takes, which is what happened. Yes, it looks like this pawn is weak, but what do we have? Well, we have this open line. We have very nice control of the e5 square. And at some point we might play f5. Black plays queen d6, and you have to be very careful here. Because there are two threats. The obvious one, which is queen attacks pawn, but there is also queen d4, which attacks the king and this. So you sort of have to move your queen to d2. You can also move it to c1, but it's not clear why it wants to be on c1. So queen d2. King f7 by my opponent. He does not intend to castle. He is supporting this pawn, and he'll bring his knight. He'll bring his rook, and he claims that life is good. Okay, castle. Nothing special. The goal is to put pressure on this pawn. Knight d7. Black develops the knight. Rook e1 improves the rook. Pawn g6. I'm not entirely sure what the point of pawn g6 is. Black doesn't really want to play pawn f5 ever because it weakens the squares. It's not the end of the world. Maybe he was afraid that I would play pawn f5, but g6, considering that black is already behind in development, is a somewhat unusual choice. I played queen e2. Queen e2 computer approves of somewhat. Computer wants to start doing stuff on this side of the board, but queen e2. By the way, he cannot take because this pawn falls. Black plays knight b6, now he defends. So now he is threatening to take this pawn, so I defended. Pawn g3, Bishop d7, black is getting ready to bring in the rook. Pawn c3, reinforcing the center. Again, you can play more on the queen side, but I'm just being solid and improving. Rook e8, providing extra support to the weak pawn, makes a lot of sense. Knight d2, developing all the pieces. Now this rook can play. Again, there is no rush, you don't have a crushing attack yet, so first you can bring in all your pieces. Okay, pawn c6 by black, which is not terrible, but at some point this has to be done. These pieces need to play chess. I played a4. Why a4? Well, there is a world where I might play a5 and force this knight towards square. There is a world where I might continue that with a6. There is also a world where I might just do something like this and get the knight to c5. All of those things are reasonable. Black plays knight c8, which is a move. It's, again, black is being very, very passive. So I play pawn h4. Why? Because maybe we'll play pawn h5 at some point. And maybe I'll follow with king there and rook h1. And then I might do something over here. So he stops me, but there is a downside. Now this pawn becomes weak. So it's a potential target now. I play knight b3, the knight might want to come here. So he stops me, pawn b6, and I was very proud of my next move, which is pawn a5. The logic of pawn a5 is if he pushes, that gives up control of this square. If he takes, this allows the rook to come in. And then the second rook to come in. Or maybe, and the knight can still go here. So this is a very nice move. Black plays knight e7. I took, now this rook can invade. Black took and I invaded, rook a7. That's a nice rook. Black played knight f5. And this is our opponent's best piece. So when you're attacking and your opponent has a good piece, it's a good idea to trade him off. Some people trade just because they can. So don't do that. Trade when it helps you. And this trade helps us. We get rid of the knight. He has to be very, very careful. He cannot take this way because of the spin. So if he takes this way, he can just play queen takes rook. And he cannot take back. So he takes with the g-pawn, which is smart. And now queen a6. Computer does not want that. Computer wants rook b7. Just going after this pawn. And again, if he moves, the knight comes here. But queen a6 is quite reasonable. This pawn is being attacked. Maybe the queen will go here. Computer wants rook b8. My opponent played pawn b5, which of course now gives up control of this square. So knight c5. Attacking this bishop. He defends. And now the question becomes, how do we make the next? How do we make progress? How do we continue our attack? I'm going to pause and I hope you will find the answer. I was very proud of myself again, and I hope you were able to find this move. Also, there is knight e5, which attacks the king, attacks the bishop. If he takes when we take back, the queen has to move, and this bishop gets lost. So, okay, this is attacked, so he has to take. So takes. Again, we need to be careful. If we take with this pawn, he takes the knight. So we need to take with this pawn. Pawn takes, queen b8 by black, saving the queen. And now we get this thing back. So rook takes, knight takes. And not only are we up a pawn, but also our queen is better than the black queen, our rook is better than the black rook, our knight is better than the black knight, and our king is more safe. Black plays queen c7, asks the knight a question. The knight goes back to its outpost. Black develops all the pieces, the knight comes in, the rook gets ready to play. Rook a1, this is the invasion line. Rook c8, unclear to me why, but it's not like black can actually come up with anything active or exciting. Queen b7. We don't mind to trade queens because then the rook will invade. It will be absolutely dominant. Black took, I took. The threat is to fork, so he moves the rook. Knight d6 anyway. King moves, and now b4. b4 is a very important move because we want to be able to invade, but then black creates counterplay. And we don't want counterplay, so before we play rook a7, we need to stop this. So pawn b4, now this is closed, and he cannot stop the rook from coming. Knight c8, he wants to trade knights, which sort of makes sense, because this knight is better than his knight, but again, white rook will invade, and then white king will simply come up the board. So we took, he took, we invaded with the rook, black moves the king, and rook h7. So the idea is maybe we'll take this pawn, or maybe we'll just force a trade. And again, if he tries to go for the counterplay, then he loses the rook. So black has no counterplay. So black plays there, which is fine. I could take right away, but it's not going anywhere. So first I improve the king. Black offers a rook trade, then okay, again, taking is an option. But I just trade because the final endgame is winning. So king takes, king comes up. King e7, king f4. King f7, king g5. This pawn will fall. And now there are many ways to win. One possible way of winning is we'll use this pawn to distract this king and we'll come here. We can also do something like this and this. And then we have two connected passed pawns running up the board. Again, many different ways. So king g5 with idea to go here. He stops it. Now h5. He goes here. If he goes here, maybe we just invade. But now we push the pawn to distract the king. King g8 and king g6. I could have played here right away, but there is no reason. If he goes here, this pawn queens. If he goes here, okay, now we can go and pick this pawn up. And my opponent resigned. So it was a very nice, smooth game, which shows you how to convert your lead in development, how to take advantage of your opponent's weaknesses, how to look for tactics. I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, please subscribe. I'll be back soon. Thank you.